Real estate is hyperlocal. So what does that term mean, hyperlocal? I talk about it all the time. It means that real estate is all about location, all the way down to from the state to the city, to the block, to the street, to the lots on the street, and what type of lots and things like that. So when you're looking at real estate or even a business, it really doesn't matter what it is, commercial, residential, any other type of business, it's all about location, and location is hyperlocal. Every market is different. Every buyer and seller in every market is different. Every tenant is different in every market, in the different locations of the market. So you can go a block one way or the other and things will change drastically and dramatically from a rent standpoint, from the value of the property standpoint, from the desirability of the area. So you really have to pay attention to the metrics. You really have to pay attention to the comps. You have to really pay attention to what's going on around you. There's a number of ways you can maximize the opportunities that are happening around you if you're aware of the market and you understand the law of hyperlocality. And I just made that word up, hyperlocality. That sounds great, doesn't it? Sounds like a big word. So business, real estate, location, it's hyperlocal. So you need to understand, if you're the only steakhouse in town and there's nobody else around, then you can probably charge a premium price. You can probably book yourself every night. You can probably fill the place up anytime you want. If you have the only rental units in the area, then you can probably set rents wherever you want it to. You can almost even have an auction for rents, where there's a new platform now that if you own apartments and own rental units, that you can list your property on there and people can bid to rent the units. So we're seeing rental auctions are going to become more and more popular, as well as not just year-round rents, but in vacation properties as well, short-term rentals. So it's really interesting, the landscape of real estate, where we're headed, how things are changing, and the same thing for the landscape of business with the deliverability of food and restaurants and things like that. Even then, location is very important because of the geography and the radius to which the restaurants will serve. So if you're the only guy delivering food within a certain area, you can get a premium for that service. You can book yourself out and you've got a unique selling proposition that nobody else has around you. If you are selling property, if you're a developer and you're building and selling, whether it's condos, townhouses, single family homes, whatever it is, if you are the only game in town and there's a big demand, chances are you can set the market. You can even have an auction for those units, which I do recommend if you're developing and building and you have something that's very unique, very high demand and very sought after. I would look into auction sales. You can set a minimum price, a price that you're willing to accept at the lowest, a reserve price that's called. You can set that for a sale. You can set that for rentals. Rentals, you can set that for anything. It's called a reserve price. And try some auction sales. So if you're in a very high demand location and if you have the only game in town, try the auction route, see what happens with that. It's kind of interesting. But again, it all goes back to the location. Real estate, business, everything, it's all about location. It's hyper local. Hyperlocality makes a big difference. Think about it, know your metrics, know your market, know it intimately.